Hey guys, I'm back. Welcome back as well. We're gonna go over the chapter that we went over with the baobabs because it's that critical. It's a very, very important chapter, and I kind of went through it a little too fast, and I realize that now. So we're gonna go over it more in depth because I think you guys can get a vast amount of knowledge just from that one chapter. All right, so I need you guys to take out your notes. Hopefully you guys have some. All right, and we're going to cover our literary terms again, just so we keep them fresh on our mind, because in the future you might decide you want to join AP classes, which is advanced placement. And if you decide to do that, you're going to need to know your literary terms. There's no two ways about it. You're going to need to know them, period. So we've got symbolism. Anybody remember what symbolism means? Well, if you don't remember, it's where an object, person, or situation has another meaning. Actions or words or actions of a character have another meaning. So like the baobabs are symbolic of something else. And we'll go over their symbolism here in a little bit. Then we had this fun one, onomatopoeia. And remember, how do we read big, long words, especially ones that end in just a big slew of vowels? We break it down. Onomatopoeia. And you can, basically, you have your consonant, the P, and then these two following vowels, when you have a whole bunch of vowels like that, read the second letter. E, P-ya. Pronounce the second vowel. Try that. And if it doesn't sound right, try it the other way. It's you'll see that in German language. So, pia, onomatopoeia. And that's a word for noises. Like buzz, kapow, blam, all that. Personification. You guys remember personification? There's personification and there's anthropomorphism. You're going to have to Google that. That's one of your assignments. Google that and understand the difference between the two. They're very similar, but understand the difference, okay? Anthropomorphism is like a sun with a smiling face or a talking dog. All right, next. This is a new one. Okay, we're going to have 5 terms by the time we're done today. This is allegory. An allegory is like a massive metaphor that is told through stories. So it's a story, a poem, or a picture that can be interpreted to reveal a hidden meaning, typically a moral or political one. So this book is an allegory of friendship. And a metaphor makes an implicit, implied, or hidden comparison between two things that are unrelated but share some common characteristics. So it's when you're comparing something. There's also a simile. There, we've got 6. 6. We'll go with 6. Simile and metaphor. With a simile, you use like or as. So you say, that lady over there she ate a plate of food as big as a house. See? You're using the word as to compare it. The two things are unrelated. Her plate of food isn't actually as big as a house, but it's like it is because it's so big. So you're comparing it to something much greater on a different level, but it's just a comparison to give us a better understanding. Okay, so symbolism, onomatopoeia, personification, allegory, simile, and metaphor. All right. Hopefully you're keeping track of these. All right. So again, we're going over chapter 5. Every day, I'd learn something about the little prince's planet, about his departure, about his journey. It would come quite gradually in the course of his remarks. This is how I learned on the third day about the drama of the baobabs. All right, so baobabs we talked about, it's a tree. It's a prehistoric species which predates both mankind and the splitting of continents over 200 million years ago. So 200 million years ago, we didn't have the United States and Europe over here and Asia and everything. The map didn't look anything like it does today. We had something called Pangaea. It was one big continent. And over time, all that water underneath that land made the continents shift apart. There's the continental drift. So these trees are really an old species, and they've survived all of this time through evolution. They are native to the African savanna, where the climate is extremely dry and arid. Arid means dry, but it's specifically when you're referring to climate. It is a symbol of life and positivity in a landscape where little else can thrive. So remember that. It's a symbol of life and positivity in a landscape where little else can thrive. So it's a good symbol, actually, overall, because it's kind of a symbol of hope. What is so special about the baobab? It's adapted to its environment. It's succulent and absorbs water during the rainy season, which enables it to produce a nutrient-dense fruit in the dry season when all is dry and arid. It became known as the tree of life, so is greatly symbolic. So now that we know that about the baobab, it's going to enrich our reading experience as we continue and read how this author has decided to use this tree that we know about to give us these symbols and messages through the book using this tree. So this time too, I had the sheep to thank, for suddenly the little prince asked me a question as if overcome by a grave doubt. So again, he's thanking the sheep. He's kind of using this whole sheep thing he's interested. He's really showing interest in this little prince. He doesn't have to be interested in him at all, but he is. He's kind of enticed and intrigued, which also means interested.
Isn't it true that sheep eat bushes?
Yes, that's right.
Ah, I'm glad.
I didn't understand why it was so important that the sheep should eat bushes, but the little prince added,
And therefore they eat baobabs too?
I pointed out to the little prince that baobabs are not bushes but trees as tall as churches, and that even if he took a whole herd of elephants back to his planet, that herd couldn't finish off a single baobab. The idea of the herd of elephants made the little prince laugh.
We'd have to pile them on top of one another.
But he observed perceptively. And again, kids do that.
Before they grow big, baobabs start out by being little.
So, let's relate the baobabs to something, because this whole chapter and the message it's sending could be easily misunderstood or misconstrued. And we don't need that. This is one of those vital chapters with a vital message. So baobabs, he's saying that that they start off small. It's some kind of small thing, and we need to be careful and hang on, guys. I'm gonna get this point across, I swear. All right, we need to observe carefully here as we continue on through this chapter. So before they grow big, baobabs start out by being little. All right. True enough, but why do you want your sheep to eat little baobabs? He answered, "Oh, come on, you know," as if we were talking about something quite obvious, and I was forced to make a great mental effort to understand this problem all by myself. And in fact, on the Little Princess planet, there were, as on all planets, good plants and bad plants. The good plants come from good seeds, and the bad plants from bad seeds. Now, I want to talk about the good seeds and bad seeds. Unfortunately, some people misunderstand that to mean people are bad seeds. I believe that this is more referring to the seeds that we plant, as in thoughts, because everything starts from our thoughts and then it turns into action. But it's so easy to just look at a person and say that it's the person and that person is a bad seed. I think it's more that we need to stop the spreading of bad seeds in our minds. We don't need to plant bad seeds in our friends and make them feel insecure, like we were talking about judging based on the clothes that you wear. So imagine if you have a friend whose parents might not be very wealthy or have any money at all, or they just don't have that kind of money to spend on shoes or fancy clothes or just what the other kids are wearing. You don't need to point that out to your friend and make them feel insecure about it just because they can't afford these material things that really mean nothing. Because then you're planting a seed in your friend's mind, and they're always going to think about, oh my gosh, I don't have this, so I'm not enough. So that seed that you planted is going to grow into a bad plant inside their mind. We don't know what the consequences will be from that, but we ought to be more observant and mindful and apprehensive when we're doing things like that, when we say things to other people, especially to our friends. We need to be very careful, guys. But the seeds are invisible, just like our thoughts. They sleep in the secrecy of the ground until one of them decides to wake up. So imagine all the bad seed thoughts that people have, whether they did it on purpose or inadvertently, which is not knowing. They did it, and that seed's there. We don't know what that seed's going to grow into. We don't know what it's going to cause that person to do. It might not cause them to do any major damage to anybody, or it may. But it might, just knowing that will cause them damage within themselves should be enough to motivate you not to do things like that. I really hope I'm making sense and getting my point across. And all you older kids that are watching, if you guys have the little ones with you, it's your job and your responsibility to make sure that they understand too what's going on. So help them out. Okay, guys? Then it stretches and begins to sprout, quite timidly at first. Remember, timid means shy. Quite timidly at first, a charming, harmless little twig reaching towards the sun. If it's a radish seed or a rosebush seed, you can let it sprout all it likes. So if you tell someone, like rosebush seed reminds me of beauty. If you tell someone, wow, you're so beautiful, you're just absolutely stunning, amazingly gorgeous, inside and out, you're planting a good seed. And that seed of beauty, just with your words, goes into someone's mind and it flourishes into a rose bush. And you'll see that rose bush reveal itself over time.
But if it's the seed of a bad plant, you must pull the plant up right away as soon as you can recognize it. So that, again, we can think of that as those bad seeds that people plant. Sometimes people plant those bad seeds in your mind on purpose because they're jealous and they want you to feel bad about yourself or think that you don't have something, that you're not enough somehow. But that's not true. Don't ever let anybody talk you into that. That's crazy talk. And if you see that in somebody else and you realize that someone has a bad seed like that planted in their mind, it's your job to make them think differently, to help them see differently. It's your job to open their eyes and, don't force anything. Guide them in the right direction because we only want good seeds to sprout. Okay, guys? All right. So you must pull the plant up right away as soon as you can recognize it. As it happens, there were terrible seeds on the little princess planet, baobab seeds. The plant's soil was infested with them. Now, if you attend to the baobab too late, you can never get rid of it again. It overgrows the whole planet. Its roots pierce right through, and if the planet is too small, and if there are too many baobabs, they may make it burst into pieces. So that's just like us, guys. If we have all these bad seeds planted in our mind and we're thinking that we're not enough all the time or that we can't do the things that we want to do and we cannot acquire or get the things that we want out of life, we'll let all of those bad seeds spread their roots throughout our whole body and consume us until it destroys us inside out. And we don't want that, do we? No, we don't want that at all. We're better than that. We can achieve anything we want. There's nothing stopping us but ourselves. Always remember that, guys. It's a question of discipline. See, the little prince knows. Do you guys know? It's a question of discipline. Like, discipline is what you guys are doing right now. You're disciplining yourselves to sit down and learn and read, and you guys are getting that education that you need. It's a question of discipline, the little prince told me later on. When you've finished washing and dressing each morning, you must tend your planet. You must be sure you pull up the baobabs regularly, as soon as you can tell them apart from the rose bushes, which they closely resemble when they're very young. It's very tedious work, but very easy. So now he's talking about pulling up those seeds and remembering to do that within yourself. Because we have our own problems. So before we go looking for problems in somebody else, we need to make sure that we're stable. It's just like loving yourself. You have to love yourself before you can love anybody else. Yeah, it might sound selfish, but really it's not. It's just the way things are. And the way to say that in Latin is de rerum natura, the way things are, or the nature of things. And one day he advised me to do my best to make a beautiful drawing for the edification of the children where I live. If they travel someday, he told me, it could be useful to them. Sometimes there's no harm in postponing your work until later, but with baobabs it's always a catastrophe. I knew one planet that was inhabited by a lazy man. He had neglected 3 bushes. Wow. Catastrophe, kids, means disaster. Something that just went all the way wrong. So, following the little prince's instructions, I have drawn that planet. I don't much like assuming the tone of a moralist, but the danger of the baobabs is so little recognized, and the risks run by anyone who might get lost on an asteroid are so considerable that for once I am making an exception to my habitual reserve. I say, children, watch out for the baobabs. It's to warn my friends of danger, of of a danger of which they, like myself, have long been unaware, that I worked so hard on this drawing.
Remember the drawing, guys? Awesome. See, the poor little guy's consumed with all of this. He let it get too big and too strong. Now what's he gonna do?
The lesson I'm teaching is worth the trouble. You may be asking, why are there no other drawings in this book as big as the drawing of the baobabs? Well, there's a simple answer. I tried, but I couldn't manage it. When I drew the baobabs, I was inspired by a sense of urgency. How many of you guys actually went and used that? Hopefully all of you guys did. And again, the older kids, please guide the young ones, the little ones that are still catching up with us. We're all learning together, and it doesn't matter how old you are. You can always learn, and you can always help somebody learn. Always, always, always value your education. We're going to stop right there, and I really want you guys to keep practicing with your literary terms, all right? Because we're going to keep going with this. It's awesome. And once you have a full understanding of them, I mean, you could just rock the world with your knowledge. You're going to have tools and skills that nobody else has. It's a matter of discipline, and you just have to find the drive within yourself to want to learn. Reach for that. All right, guys. I'm going to... I don't know. I think I've given you guys a lot to work with, and you can practice some sentences. I want you guys to be mindful of, be respectful of conjugating verbs. Remember we talked about verbs? To run, to play. Let me pull out my notes here. Remember the formula for a sentence? We need a subject, we need a verb, and we need a noun, object. Okay? So the verb, the to play, to run, that is what we need to conjugate. Because I can't say, I to play right now. I say, I play right now. Conjugation is the way we make words agree with each other in a sentence so that we don't sound silly when we speak. We're going to focus here on an irregular verb, which means it's not conjugated like in the same pattern as the other verbs. To be. You can't say I be, or he be, or we be. That's not correct. That's not grammatically correct, and it makes you sound silly. So, you say, I am. You are. He or she is. Okay? So that's... I am, you are, he or she is. And this is from the verb to be. To be. They, who knows what the conjugated verb for to be is for they? It's are. They are. We are. Okay, guys? I want you guys to keep that handy, always, in the back of your mind. Whenever you're making sentences, make sure you conjugate your verbs correctly, okay, guys? All right, continue making sentences. I'm going to be expecting to see them in the comments, please, from every single one of you. Okay? Make sure you subscribe, hit the like, and please, guys, again, I can't stress it enough. I need your comments. I need your support. All right? Y'all keep me going. I want you guys to learn. I don't want you guys to let your brains melt out of your ears during the summer. You don't want that. You don't want all of the schooling that you already went through to go to waste. No, you would rather take all of that and utilize it, which means to use. Use it to your advantage and use it to grow. Don't let it all just go away for nothing. That means you wasted all of that time and all that homework and studying for nothing? I don't think so. Not on my watch, guys. I love you so much, and we'll pick up tomorrow. Or who knows, maybe later today if I get some time where I'm alone. Yeah, but if not, then I'll be expecting to see you guys tomorrow. All right. Mwah. Kisses, hugs, love.